Wow, what a comeback victory for the Philadelphia Eagles against the Los Angeles Rams yesterday on Sunday. Just a massive turnaround there after a rough first half into the second half, and they improved to 3-0 in their season, defending their Super Bowl championship from a season ago. But we are not talking about the Eagles, we're talking about the Phillies, who unfortunately could not follow suit like their city partner team whatever Eagles did yesterday. They dropped that series finale to the Arizona Diamondbacks 9-2, failed to make a comeback like the Eagles did. Unfortunately, the Phillies did lose that series to the Diamondbacks out in Arizona 2-1, and they dropped those final 2 games of the series after winning that series opener on Friday night. It was actually the Phillies' first series lost since they were swept up at Citi Field by their division rival New York Mets back August 25th to the 27th. So quite some time since the Phillies lost a series. They've been playing really good baseball as of late. Unfortunately, ran into an Arizona Diamondbacks team that's fighting for their playoff lives and trying to keep their season alive here. Phillies begin a 3-game home series versus the Miami Marlins starting tomorrow night, off day today here on Monday. Christopher Sanchez is scheduled to pitch to begin that series against the NL East rival Marlins. Welcome to Phillies Daily, everybody. I'm your host, Mike Henley. Make sure you guys subscribe for more Phillies content right here on Phillies Daily. So just another tough series, like I said, against the Diamondbacks. They're fighting for their playoff lives. They're right there in the thick of it, trying to get into that final wildcard spot, which is held by the Mets and the Reds right now. I'll get to that in a little while. But it's a series the Phillies just have to forget about and move on. Again, the Diamondbacks just have a lot more to play for. The Phillies already locked up a playoff spot, the NL East title. So other than that, they were just trying to get that 1 seed. Right now they're in the 2 seed. Still, it was very unlikely the Phillies were going to jump the Milwaukee Brewers for that 1 seed. So again, Diamondbacks just way more to play for, and they got the job done winning that series 2-1 against the Phillies. Again, just something to forget about and move on, because you don't want this to keep dwelling on the team and the players. A tough loss like this, series loss like this, especially as the playoffs are about to begin in just a little while here. The Phillies have just a few more games, 6 more games to be exact, to the regular season. And then the playoffs begin, where you have to obviously play your best brand of baseball if you want any chance of moving on and winning a World Series championship. We saw the Phillies did not do that last year in October, had the first round bye, lost to the Mets in the NLDS in 4 games. Hopefully that is not a repeat, and hopefully they make a deeper run, if not a World Series championship run here in 2025. Ranger Suarez pitched yesterday in that series finale loss to the Diamondbacks. Not his best day. He allowed 6 earned runs in just 4 innings. Just not his best stuff there, and the Phillies lost that ball game again. Just something to forget about, put in the rearview mirror, and move on, starting fresh against the Miami Marlins after a much-needed off day today, starting that series tomorrow night at home at Citizens Bank Park in front of their home crowd, where they play a lot better baseball. Now, the Phillies had their chances in those 2 losses to the Diamondbacks, both on Saturday night and Sunday afternoon. Unfortunately, just the offense could not come through in those opportunities, in those chances. The Phillies were just 1 for 14 with runners in scoring position yesterday in that 9-2 loss to the Diamondbacks. You're not going to win ball games like that. 1 for 14, that is horrible. 14 really opportunities is that to score a run. They lost by 7 runs. They had a ton of opportunities. Who knows if you get any of those hits, that could be a completely different ball game. How it turns out, 1 for 14, you're just not going to win ball games, especially come playoff time here in just a few days. Just can't be happening. They also, you can look back on Saturday night when they lost 4-3, I believe it was, to the Diamondbacks in Game 2 of that 3-game series. They were 0 for 5 with runners in scoring position in that loss. So they also had their opportunities to score, to tie up the ball game, to even take the lead late against the Diamondbacks. Couldn't come through the offense. Definitely didn't come through yesterday in that loss on Sunday afternoon to wrap up that 3-game road series in Arizona. So 1 for 14 yesterday, 0 for 5 Saturday night. That is 1 for 19 in those past 2 games, in those 2 losses to the Diamondbacks. Again, that is not good at all, especially for a very good offense like the Phillies. You just can't be having that. Again, just a tough series. You're not going to be great every single series, but you do want to see a little bit better production than that. Can't always rely on the long ball, the home runs to win you ball games. You got to come up with these clutch base hits. Phillies couldn't do that Saturday night or yesterday, especially in that loss to the Diamondbacks, and that's why the Diamondbacks ultimately won those final 2 games of the series and won the series overall against the Phillies and kept their playoff lives alive, really, for the Diamondbacks. There was one silver lining for the Phillies. You can look at yesterday in that loss, 9-2 loss, that little kind of, you can almost say, blowout loss to the Diamondbacks. Alec Boehm has been looking really good at the plate since he returned from the IL to begin this series. He was reinstated before the ball game Friday night to kick off that 3-game road series against the Arizona Diamondbacks. They won that ball game. He had a good game. He actually was 2 for 5 with an RBI double and a 2 RBI single in Friday's win over the Diamondbacks. Carried that right into Saturday, although the Phillies lost. But Alec Boehm, he was 2 for 4 with a solo home run in that loss on Saturday. And then yesterday in that loss, 9-2 loss, again, silver lining, Alec Boehm was a perfect 4 for 4 with a double and a walk in Sunday's loss to the Diamondbacks. So overall, very good stuff by Alec Boehm in his 3 games back from the IL. Hopefully he can keep that going. We've seen him be one of the better hitters in Major League Baseball, especially last year when he was an All-Star, one of the best third basemen in the National League and Major League Baseball, really. He does go into his cold streaks, but overall, he's a very good hitter. When he's going good, he's hitting those doubles in the gaps. He's driving in runs, and he did just that against the Diamondbacks in that 3-game series, despite the Phillies losing that 2-1 overall. And he also showed off his power with that solo home run in Saturday night's loss to the Diamondbacks. So hopefully Alec Boehm can keep that up. Obviously, struggled earlier on in the season, started turning things around, was getting hot, was on the IL just now, and now he's looking good again, and that needs to continue right into these final 6 games of the regular season and right into October, especially to keep this Phillies lineup dangerous and deep for a potential World Series run here in 2025. Now, looking ahead, I have mentioned we are in the final stretch here, the final week of the regular season. So what's next for the Phillies? They're coming off a tough series loss to the Diamondbacks, but they begin a 6-game homestand to end the regular season, starting tomorrow night at Citizens Bank Park in South Philadelphia. First against the NL East rival Miami Marlins. That is a 3-game home series. And then right after that, a 3-game home series against the Minnesota Twins. Friday, Saturday, Sunday at home at Citizens Bank Park in front of the Philly faithful. Both of those teams are below 500. The Marlins are kind of close to the 500 mark. The Twins are a little bit more below that 500 mark, but still 2 teams that the Phillies should beat. It's definitely win both series, if not sweep one or even both of them to end the regular season. We'll see what happens here because maybe Rob Thompson ends up deciding giving some of his guys some days off here in these final 6 games just to give them a little breather heading into the playoffs, since that 1 seed is kind of out of the question here at this point with those 2 losses to the Diamondbacks. Phillies couldn't capitalize on that, so still have that number 2 seed. In fact, the Phillies have a 4-game lead over the Los Angeles Dodgers for the number 2 seed in the National League. They also have the tiebreaker over the Dodgers, so just 6 games left. They're pretty much locked into that number 2 seed. Something crazy would have to happen for them not to have that 2 seed and a first-round bye and home field advantage in the playoffs through the National League before the World Series, assuming that they don't face the Milwaukee Brewers at any point, who have the number 1 seed. And then, as I said, little unlikely that they catch the Brewers. They are 3 games behind the Brewers for that number 1 seed. The Brewers also have the tiebreaker, so with 6 games left, just very unlikely for the Phillies to jump them. Again, pretty much locked into that 2 seed. They can get some more wins under their belt here, facing these 2 teams below 500 in the Marlins and the Twins. They should handle business, should at least come away through this 6-game homestand to end the regular season with a 4-2 record. That's winning both series, dropping 1 game to each. So they should take care of business. I have all the faith in the world in them. They should definitely do that. Now, looking a little bit ahead at the playoff picture in the National League, I did mention the Diamondbacks have been fighting for that final wildcard spot. They got those 2 wins against the Phillies. They're fighting for their playoff lives. The Mets and the Cincinnati Reds are tied right now for that final National League wildcard spot. It's coming really down between the Mets, Reds, and Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks are now just 1 game back of the Mets and the Reds for that final National League wildcard spot. So maybe, just maybe, we don't even see the Mets in the playoffs, which would be great. They might get knocked out with the Reds and the Diamondbacks winning some ball games here. The Mets haven't been playing great baseball as of late, so they kind of fell back here as of late, which kind of good to see. You don't want to see the Mets in the playoffs. You never want to see them. The Phillies have a hard time playing up there in Citi Field. We saw what happened when they got swept a couple weeks ago up there, and we obviously saw what happened last year in the NLDS, losing 4 games to the Mets in that playoff series and getting sent home packing way too early. But that's something to keeping an eye on, is the National League playoff race. The Phillies most likely have the number 2 seed, a first-round bye, and home field advantage, except if they play the Brewers at some point in the playoffs. Thank you guys for watching this episode of Phillies Daily. I'm your host, Mike Hennelly. Make sure you guys like, comment, share, and subscribe for more Phillies content right here on Phillies Daily. Off day today here on Monday. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that Eagles win yesterday. I know I did. Hopefully the Phillies get back on track starting tomorrow night to finish off this regular season, starting with a 3-game home series against the Miami Marlins with Christopher Sanchez on the mound. Hopefully we are talking about more Phillies wins to end this regular season and getting ready for Red October. Phillies playoff baseball. Great atmosphere. I love it. There's nothing better than it. Thank you guys again for watching, and as always, go Phils.